The grand chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with tension. Hundreds of alien representatives from across the galaxy filled the circular room. Tall windows showed the glittering cityscape of Nexus Prime, the neutral planet where the Council had met for over 300 years. Councillor Zixvoth of the Araxian Dominion stood at the center platform. His insect-like body towered over most other species. The hard plates covering his body gleamed under the soft lights. His forearms gestured at the holographic display behind him. Esteemed colleagues, Zixvoth began, his translator converting his clicks and chirps into standard galactic common. For the 5th time in as many cycles, I bring evidence of human disruption to our established order. The display changed to show footage of human ships helping a refugee fleet escape from a war zone. Another clip showed humans sharing advanced farming methods with a struggling colony. While these actions may seem helpful, they bypass council authority. Humans act without permission, they ignore our traditions, they solve problems in ways we never approved. Admiral John Davis watched from the observer section. His blue uniform with gold trim marked him as Earth Alliance military. At 62, his hair had turned completely gray, but his back remained straight, his eyes alert. He had fought in the Centauri conflict and helped establish Earth's first 5 colonies. Now he might watch everything humans had built be taken away. Beside him sat Ambassador Olivia Martinez. At 45, she represented the diplomatic branch of the Earth Alliance. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her expression revealed nothing of her inner thoughts. But her knuckles turned white as she gripped her datapad. The humans entered galactic society only 70 years ago, continued Zixvoth. Yet they have spread to 27 systems. They have formed trade agreements with 46 species. They have influenced cultural trends across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. A murmur spread through the chamber. Many representatives nodded in agreement. Most concerning, Zixvoth's voice rose. They encourage others to question our ways. The Vertilians have begun to ask why trade routes cannot be changed. The Nakaran now suggest our medical research should be shared more widely. Ambassador Martinez leaned toward Admiral Davis. "This is worse than we thought," she whispered. "He's painting our diplomatic efforts as subversion." Councillor Trell of the Paxilian Syndicate rose from her seat. Her flowing robes shifted like water as she moved. The tentacles around her mouth twitched with concern. "The humans have been valuable trading partners," she said. "Their goods are high quality and fairly priced. Is this really necessary?" "Economics is not the only concern," replied Zixvoth. "It is about order, about respect for our 10,000 years of tradition. Humans rush in and change things without understanding the delicate balance we have created." In the back of the chamber, Grel Tak, a Paxilian merchant with green-tinged skin, listened with growing alarm. Half his business came from human markets. He slipped out quietly, already composing messages to his partners. Near the scientific delegation, Kalara, an Endorian researcher with pale blue skin and large silver eyes, discreetly downloaded the Council's documents to her personal device. The humans had helped fund her work on clean energy. Without them, her project would die. Ambassador Martinez stood to address the Council. "Respected members, humanity has only sought to be a positive force in the galaxy. If our methods seem unusual, it is because we bring fresh perspectives. Different is not dangerous." Zixvoth's mandibles clicked rapidly, an Araxian sign of dismissal. Fresh perspectives undermine established wisdom. The Council has guided galactic development for millennia. Humans have existed as a spacefaring species for less than a century, yet presumed to know better. The vote came swiftly. One by one, the Council members pressed buttons on their consoles. A large display showed the results in real time. Green for approval of the ban, red for rejection. Green lights dominated the board. The final tally, 72%, in favor of restricting humans to their solar system. Ambassador Martinez closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, her face showed only professional composure. "The Earth Alliance requests time to withdraw our citizens safely from various posts throughout Council space." "You have 30 standard days," replied the head counselor, "and ancient Centauri with translucent skin. All human ships must return to your solar system. No human vessel will be permitted beyond the orbit of your gas giant Jupiter. This quarantine will last 50 Earth years, after which the Council will reconsider. In Earth's orbital command station, Commander Sam Nichols received the transmission from Ambassador Martinez. The large viewing screen in the command center showed her tired face as she delivered the news. Sam ran a hand through his short brown hair, struggling to believe what he was hearing. They can't do this. We have treaties, agreements, all overruled by Council directive. Ambassador Martinez replied, I'm sorry, Sam, we fought as hard as we could. Around the circular command center, 24 officers stared in shock. Lieutenant Kate Fowler, the station's tactical officer, stepped forward. Her red hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, her freckled face pale with concern. What about? Are people out there? We have colonies, research stations, trade posts. Sam turned to his executive officer. Begin recall operations. Priority to civilians in potentially hostile territories. After the transmission ended, silence filled the command center. Through the large viewport, Earth glowed blue and white against the blackness of space. For decades, humanity had reached beyond that blue world, making friends, building relationships, creating a place among the stars. So what do we do now, sir? Lieutenant Fowler asked quietly. Commander Sam looked around at his crew. He saw fear, anger, and confusion on their faces. But he also saw determination. We prepare, he said firmly. We bring our people home safely, and we wait to see who our real friends are out there. He straightened his uniform. The Council may have spoken, but I doubt every species agrees with this decision. 70 years isn't long in galactic terms, but it's enough time to have made some genuine connections. Beyond the command center, in the station's diplomatic section, a message arrived from a non-Council world. Then another, and another. Even as the official decision spread across the galaxy, the first signs of resistance were already forming. The Council had made their ruling. But the story was far from over. On the edge of the Sol system, 8 ships from 6 different alien species changed course, heading toward Earth instead of away from it. They carried not threats, but offers of help. The human ban had started. So had the rebellion against it. 3 weeks after the Council's ban, the first real signs of resistance emerged not from humans, but from their alien allies. The trading hub of Orion's Nexus bustled with activity despite the late hour. Merchants from 100 worlds haggled over goods. Security drones hovered silently above the crowds. Council enforcement officers patrolled in pairs, their gray uniforms marking them as agents of galactic law. Chi-Lok, a Vertulian trader, moved carefully through the market. His tall, thin body and pale green skin made him stand out among the shorter species. He wore a hooded cloak despite the warm air. His 4-fingered hand rested on a small bag at his waist. He approached a food stall run by another Vertulian. The stars shine bright tonight, Chi-Lok said casually. But some have been hidden from view, the vendor replied, completing the code phrase. The vendor nodded toward a back alley. Chi-Lok slipped away from the market, into the shadows between tall buildings. At the end of the alley waited a small cargo shuttle. The door slid open as he approached. Inside stood Dr. Alan Foster, a human scientist specializing in quantum resonance technology. His presence here violated at least 3 Council directives. His brown eyes looked tired, but determined. Was I followed? Alan asked quietly. Chi-Lok shook his head. The Council thinks you returned to Earth on the last transport. Your new identity is prepared. Alan nodded. I still don't understand why you're risking so much to help me. Your research helped my colony survive the drought, Chi-Lok said. Simply. The Vertulian Science Academy believes your work is too important to lose because of politics. He started the shuttle's engines. And we are not the only ones who feel this way. Meanwhile, on the desert world of Tarak 4, Diplomat, Patricia Wells found herself being led through narrow streets. The 3 suns beat down mercilessly, Her guide, a Nakaran named Drell, moved with the easy grace of someone born to this harsh world. His orange skin had evolved to reflect the brutal sunlight, and his 4 eyes blinked independently of each other. "Where are we going?" Patricia asked, wiping sweat from her forehead. She had expected to be on a ship back to Earth by now. Instead, Minister Drell had intercepted her at the spaceport. "Somewhere safe," Drell replied. "The council observers watch the main government buildings. We cannot speak freely there." They arrived at what looked like an ordinary home. Drell placed his hand on a scanner hidden behind a decorative plant. A section of the floor slid open, revealing stairs leading down. Patricia hesitated but followed him into the cool darkness. The passage led to a spacious underground bunker. To her surprise, 6 other aliens from different species waited there. She recognized a Centauri diplomat, a Krellian engineer, and an Endorian scientist. "Welcome to our first meeting of the Confluence," Drell said, his 4 eyes blinking solemnly. "The Council does not speak for all of us. There are many species who recognize humanity's value." The Centauri stepped forward. "My people have already filed a formal protest against the ban, but the bureaucracy will take years to process it. In the meantime, we act." "But why?" Patricia asked. "Why risk council punishment?" The Krellian engineer laughed, a rumbling sound from deep in his chest. "My shipyards have improved efficiency by 40% since working with humans. Before you came, we built the same designs for 1,000 years." "It is more than economics," the Endorian added softly. "Your species thinks differently. You question, you imagine new possibilities." Patricia looked around the room, touched by their support. "So what do we do now?" "We build a network," Drell explained. "Safe places, secret communication channels, ways to maintain relationships despite the ban." On Earth, retired Captain Ryan, Carter woke to the sound of his secure communicator beeping. The small device on his bedside table showed a message in Centauri script. Even in retirement, he had maintained his alien language skills. The message was brief. "The stars, remember? Old friends. Neptune's shadow offers cover. 3 days." Ryan sat up, suddenly wide awake. He recognized the code from his old friend Miklar, a Centauri diplomat he had worked with for years. The message meant a secret meeting was being arranged beyond Neptune, away from Earth sensors. By morning, Ryan had packed his small shuttle with supplies. Officially, he was headed to his lunar cabin for a fishing trip at the Tranquility Sea Dome. His flight plan, filed with Earth Control, made no mention of the small FTL drive he had never removed from his personal vessel, a gift from grateful Krellian shipbuilders years ago. As Ryan's shuttle lifted off from his property in the Colorado mountains, similar scenes played out across Earth and its colonies. Humans with alien connections received coded messages. Secret meetings were arranged. The underground resistance grew. On a small unmarked space station hidden in an asteroid field near the Paxilian homeworld, representatives from 12 species gathered. Miklar, the Centauri diplomat, addressed the assembly. "The Galactic Council has existed for 10,000 years, he said. In that time, it has become rigid, afraid of change. Humans bring change wherever they go." "Some change is necessary," rumbled a Draxian captain. His reptilian features showed no emotion, but his voice carried conviction. "My fleet patrolled the outer rim with human ships. Together we reduced piracy by 60%. Now the raiders return, and the Council does nothing." In a secure room at Earth Alliance headquarters, Commander Sam Nichols met with Admiral Davis and Ambassador Martinez. The room had been swept for listening devices twice before they spoke. "Reports are coming in from across Council space," Sam said, displaying a star chart on the wall screen. Dozens of points of light pulsed, each representing a contact. "These are just the allies willing to openly communicate. There may be more." Admiral Davis studied the display. "More than I expected, honestly." "The Council miscalculated," Ambassador Martinez said. "They thought severing ties with us would be simple. They forgot how deeply we've integrated with galactic society." "So what's our position?" Sam asked. "Do we encourage this resistance? It puts our allies at risk." "We neither encourage nor discourage," Admiral Davis decided. But we maintained communication channels. We accept help when offered, and we remember who stood with us when this ban is eventually lifted. As the sun set over Earth, thousands of alien vessels throughout the galaxy changed course, altered manifests, and created cover stories. A vast informal network took shape. Traders, scientists, diplomats, and ordinary citizens who believed the Council had made a terrible mistake. The human quarantine had officially begun. So had the largest organized resistance the Galactic Council had faced in 1,000 years. 6 months into the human quarantine, the effects began to ripple across the galaxy in ways the Council never expected. On the medical research planet Helios Prime, the Grand Hospital gleamed under twin suns. The facility stretched across 10 square miles with research labs, treatment centers, and housing for scientists from dozens of worlds. A place of healing and hope, now facing its greatest challenge. Inside the most secure lab, Dr. Nicole Foster worked quietly alongside her Thandarian colleagues. Officially, she had been expelled from the planet 3 months ago. A transport ship had carried her belongings back to Earth, but Nicole had never been on that ship. Her Thandarian supervisor, Chief Researcher Vol, had hidden her instead. Vol's tall, slender body and 6-fingered hands moved with precision as they examined test results together. His silvery skin reflected the blue lab lights. "The vaccine is working," Nicole said, studying the data on her screen. "Survival rate is now at 87%. Vol made a humming sound, a Thandarian expression of relief. "Without your insight on human immune responses, we would still be testing failed approaches." The Morrow Plague had already killed millions across 3 star systems. Traditional Thandarian medicine had proven useless against it. Nicole's approach, combining techniques from several species' medical traditions, had been the breakthrough they needed. "If anyone discovers I'm still here," Nicole began. "They will not," Vol interrupted. "My staff understands what is at stake." He looked at the images of sick children on the wall monitors. "I would rather face council punishment than tell more parents their children could have been saved." In the massive shipyards of Krell, production had nearly stopped. The skeletal frames of unfinished vessels hung in orbital docks. Workers gathered in groups talking in worried tones. Shipmaster Gruz stomped through the main control center, his heavy body showing the power typical of Krellians. He slammed a massive fist onto his desk, cracking its surface. 6 new orders. "Cancelled today," he growled to his assistant. "Without human engineering consultants, no one trusts our new designs. 300 years of reputation, damaged in 6 months. His assistant, a younger Krellian, handed him a data tablet. "The Guild has prepared a formal petition to the Council. We request exceptions to the human ban for essential personnel," Graz snorted. "They will refuse. The Araxians control the approval committee." "Then perhaps we should consider less official channels," the assistant suggested quietly. "I hear the Confluence has methods of bringing humans to places they're needed." Graz looked up sharply. The Confluence was not spoken of openly, but desperate times required desperate measures. The shipyards employed thousands of Krellians. If they closed, his people would suffer. "Make contact," he decided. Discreetly. Meanwhile, along the trade routes of the Outer Rim, a small merchant vessel fled from 3 pursuing ships. The merchant captain, a Paxilian named Orcs, watched the distance closing between them and the raiders. "Any response to our distress call?" he asked his communications officer. "None, Captain. The nearest council patrol is 3 days away." Orcs cursed. Before the human ban, these routes had been safe. Joint human-Centauri patrols had kept the peace. Now the Baraxian raiders had returned, preying on vulnerable shipping lanes. Just as the raiders closed to weapons range, new signals appeared on the sensor display. 3 unmarked ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly between the merchant and the raiders. "This is Vice Admiral Miller," came a voice over the communication system. "Suggest you find another target, Baraxians." The raiders hesitated, then turned away. They had heard of these mysterious defenders, ships with no official markings that somehow appeared whenever merchants were in danger. Some said humans operated them, working with alien allies. The Council denied such stories. Inside the lead defender ship, Vice Admiral Diane Miller turned to her mixed crew of humans and Centauri. At 58, her face showed experience, with lines around her eyes and mouth. Her gray-streaked hair was cut short for space travel. "That's the third group this week," said her Centauri second officer. "They grow bolder." "And we grow stretched thinner," Diane replied. She was officially on extended leave from Earth Fleet. In reality, she coordinated with her Centauri counterpart from a hidden base in the Kuiper Belt. Together, they ran unauthorized patrols in unmarked ships. "Is this sustainable?" asked a young human ensign. Diane looked at her crew. Humans working alongside aliens, all volunteers, all breaking council law to maintain safety in this sector. "This isn't just about us anymore," she told them. "It's about proving that cooperation makes us all stronger. Every merchant we save spreads that message." On Earth, the Global Council met to discuss the latest reports from beyond the quarantine line. Representatives from all Earth nations and colonies gathered in the circular chamber in Geneva. The mood was somber but determined. Admiral Davis stood at the central podium, displaying images from across the galaxy. "These are from our network of allies," he explained. "Economic disruption is growing. The Krellian shipyards report production down 60%. The medical crisis on Helios continues. Piracy has increased along 12 major trade routes." Ambassador Martinez added, "Our sources in the Galactic Council indicate some members are questioning the ban, though not openly yet." A representative from the Mars colony raised his hand. "And what of our people still out there? The ones who didn't return?" "At last count, approximately 8,000 humans remain in Council space," Admiral Davis replied. "Most are hidden by sympathetic aliens. Some continue their work in secret. Others help maintain underground networks." "And if they're caught?" asked another representative. "Deportation is the official punishment," Ambassador Martinez said. "But we've heard concerning reports of harsher measures in some sectors." As the meeting continued, a secure transmission arrived from beyond Neptune. Captain Ryan Carter's weathered face appeared on a private channel to Admiral Davis's tablet. "The resistance grows stronger," Ryan reported quietly. "I've just attended a meeting with representatives from 20 species. They call themselves the Confluence now. They're organizing, sharing resources." "Are they planning something?" Admiral Davis asked, stepping away from the main meeting. Ryan nodded. "Several Council worlds plan to formally withdraw from the quarantine agreement next month. The Paxillian Syndicate will go first. Others will follow." "That will force a Council response," Admiral Davis mused. "They're counting on it," Ryan replied. "The Council can't punish everyone. Too many worlds depend on human trade and expertise. The cracks are showing, Admiral." As night fell across Earth, billions of stars became visible in the sky. Somewhere out there, thousands of humans and their alien allies worked to prove that cooperation could overcome prejudice and fear. Small victories accumulated day by day. Minds changed one conversation at a time. The ban had been meant to remove human influence from galactic affairs. Instead, it had revealed just how deeply humanity had become woven into the fabric of interstellar society. 1 year into the ban, the first public cracks in Council unity appeared. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with tension as Councillor Trell of the Paxillian Syndicate took the central platform. Her flowing robes shimmered as she moved. The tentacles around her mouth were held tight, a sign of Paxillian determination. The viewing galleries were packed with representatives from hundreds of worlds. "The Paxillian Syndicate formally withdraws from the human quarantine agreement," she announced, her voice steady. "Our economy has suffered irreparable damage. Trade volume has decreased by 42%. 3 shipping companies have declared bankruptcy." Councillor Zixvoth of the Araxian Dominion rose immediately, his chitinous mandibles clicking rapidly. "This is unacceptable," the Council voted. "The matter is settled." "Circumstances have changed," Trell replied calmly. "New evidence suggests the ban was a mistake." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several other councillors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The head counselor, the ancient Centauri, called for order. The Paxilian Syndicate has the right to withdraw from specific agreements, he acknowledged reluctantly. But this sets a dangerous precedent. Sometimes precedents must be broken, came another voice. The crowd turned to see Professor Lin of the Endorian Science Directorate standing. Next to him stood Representative Kovar of the Vertulian Academy. Both were respected scientific leaders. The Endorian Science Directorate and Vertulian Academy jointly announce we will resume academic exchanges with Earth institutions, Professor Lin declared. Scientific progress has stalled across 17 fields of study without human collaboration. Kovar added, medical research has been particularly affected. 3 promising treatments have been abandoned due to lack of human insight. Counselor. Zixvoth's mandibles clicked furiously. This is rebellion. The council must impose sanctions. But other voices rose in support of the scientists. More representatives stood, announcing their own intentions to restore connections with humans. Outside the council building, thousands of younger aliens gathered. They wore Earth fashions, denim pants, colorful shirts, and boots. Some carried signs with human phrases and quotes. Council security guards formed lines, but the protesters remained peaceful. A young Centauri with blue-tinted skin raised her voice to lead a chant. Diversity brings strength. Isolation brings weakness. Many of these young aliens had grown up with human cultural influences. They had studied Earth philosophy, enjoyed human music, and made human friends. To them, the ban seemed like a step backward, a return to the isolated past their parents had known. Across the galaxy, on the edge of the Draxian sector, an emergency unfolded. The hospital ship Mercy drifted without power. Inside, Draxian doctors fought to save hundreds of plague victims. The ship's engines had failed while transporting patients to a treatment center. The ship sent distress calls on all frequencies. 3 council vessels detected the signal but stayed away. Their commanders cited containment protocols. The risk of spreading the plague was too great. Captain Eric Russell of the USS Defiant picked up the signal while on a covert supply run. His ship wasn't supposed to be in this sector at all. Council law prohibited human vessels here, but the Defiant had been modified with stealth technology to deliver medical supplies to underground resistance cells. It's a hospital ship, reported his communications officer. Life support failing, estimate 800 patients on board. Eric rubbed his beard thoughtfully. At 38, he had spent most of his adult life in space. His brown eyes showed the weight of the decision he faced. If we help them, we reveal ourselves, warned his first officer. The stealth modifications can't hide us during rescue operations. Eric nodded. I know, but there are 800 lives at stake. He straightened in his captain's chair. Set course for the Mercy. Alert medical to prepare for plague protocols. The Defiant dropped its stealth field and approached the drifting hospital ship. Engineering teams transferred power to stabilize the Mercy's life support. Medical teams in protective suits moved between ships bringing supplies and expertise. Dr. Krall, the Draxian chief physician, gripped Eric's arm with scaly fingers. You risk much by coming here, he said, his reptilian eyes blinking slowly. Council. Rules or not, we weren't going to let hundreds die when we could help, Eric replied simply. Unknown to either of them, a passenger on the Mercy recorded the entire rescue. The images spread across galactic networks within hours. Humans in protective gear treating Draxian victims, engineers repairing critical systems, the USS Defiant clearly visible with Earth Alliance markings. Public opinion shifted dramatically when news outlets reported that 3 Council enforcement vessels had detected the plague ship but refused to intervene. On Earth, Commander Sam Nichols watched the footage in the orbital command center. Lieutenant Kate Fowler stood beside him. Captain. Russell will face consequences, she said quietly. Sam nodded. Probably, but he made the right call. He gestured to the screen showing reactions from across the galaxy. Look at this. Demonstrations on 12 Council worlds supporting the rescue. The largest protest was happening on the Araxian homeworld, itself the species that had pushed hardest for the human ban. Young Araxians gathered outside government buildings demanding change. In the Galactic Council chamber, an emergency session convened to address the growing rebellion among its members. Ambassador Olivia Martinez attended as Earth's representative, but she was no longer relegated to the observer section. Several counselors had insisted she be given a proper seat. As she prepared her notes, a shadow fell across her table. She looked up to see Counselor Greff of the Tellarite domain standing there. The Tellarites had voted for the ban originally. "Ambassador," Greff said, his voice low, "my government wishes to discuss restoring diplomatic relations with Earth." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "That would violate council directives." Greff shifted uncomfortably. "Perhaps," he admitted, "we have made a grave miscalculation regarding humanity's role in our shared community." More counselors approached throughout the day, each with similar messages. The momentum was shifting. By session's end, nearly 40% of council members had privately expressed doubts about the ban. As Olivia prepared to return to her quarters, a message arrived from Admiral Davis. "The confluence has gone public. 28 species have formally announced their alliance with humanity, council membership notwithstanding." She smiled slightly. The resistance was no longer hiding in shadows. The ban that was meant to isolate humanity had instead revealed how many true friends they had among the stars. In his private chambers, Counselor Zixvoth received increasingly concerning reports. Economic disruption, scientific stagnation, social unrest. The quarantine designed to diminish human influence had instead highlighted how valuable that influence had become. For the first time in his long political career, Zixvoth faced the possibility that he had been wrong. 18 months after the ban was implemented, the Galactic Council chambers were filled beyond capacity. Representatives from hundreds of worlds packed the viewing galleries. The central floor held council members and key diplomats. An air of expectation hung over the assembly. Admiral John Davis and Ambassador Olivia Martinez sat in honored seats near the central platform, no longer relegated to the observer gallery. Their presence here represented a remarkable shift in council attitude. The head counselor, the ancient Centauri with translucent skin, called the session to order. His voice carried through the vast chamber. "Today we address Proposal 7329B, the reconsideration of the Human Quarantine Directive." Dozens of counselors had requested speaking time. One by one, representatives from worlds across the galaxy presented evidence of humanity's positive contributions and the harmful effects of their absence. A Krellian shipmaster displayed production, charts showing a 60% decline in advanced vessel construction. "Without human engineering consultants, innovation has stalled," he explained. "Designs that were once revolutionary have become stagnant." Next, Professor Lin of the Endorian Science Directorate presented research statistics. "Scientific progress has slowed by 23% across all fields," he reported. "Medical research has been particularly affected, with new treatment development down 37%. A Paxilian trade minister followed with economic data showing increased disputes, reduced efficiency, and rising costs across multiple sectors. Trade agreements that were negotiated with human assistance have begun to fail," she noted. "Disputes that humans once helped resolve now escalate into costly conflicts." Most compelling was Dr. Kral, the Draxian physician from the rescued hospital ship. His testimony silenced even the most vocal critics of humanity. "I stand here today because humans broke your rules," he said simply. 800 of my people live because the crew of the USS Defiant valued lives over regulations." The evidence mounted hour after hour. Cultural exchange programs had stagnated. Educational initiatives had lost momentum. Even tourism had declined, as many species had developed a fondness for visiting Earth's natural and cultural sites. Perhaps most tellingly, nearly 30 species had already broken the quarantine through official or unofficial channels, rendering the ban effectively unenforceable. As the testimonies continued, Counselor Zixvoth of the Araxian Dominion sat quietly, his mandibles occasionally clicking as he processed the overwhelming evidence. He had been the ban's strongest advocate. Now he faced a choice between pride and truth. When the time came for the final statements before voting, Zixvoth surprised everyone by requesting the floor. His tall insectoid form moved slowly to the central platform. The chamber fell silent. I have served on this council for 97 years, he began. In that time, I have prided myself on upholding our ancient traditions, our ways of governance that have maintained peace for millennia. He paused, his compound eyes scanning the assembly. The humans are not perfect, he continued. Their history contains violence and mistakes, as does the history of every species represented here, but their capacity for growth, innovation, and cooperation cannot be denied. Murmurs of surprise spread through the chamber. No one had expected such words from Zixvoth. I proposed the ban because I feared change, he admitted. I feared the disruption of our established order, but I failed to understand that adaptation is necessary for survival. Stagnation leads to decline. His mandibles clicked softly, an Araxian gesture of humility rarely seen in public. I moved that the human quarantine be lifted immediately, with a formal apology from this council. The chamber erupted in sounds, cheers, clicks, whistles, and trills from dozens of species. The head counselor called for order, then for the vote. The display board filled with lights as members registered their choices. The vote was not unanimous, but the majority was overwhelming. The human quarantine would end, effective immediately, as the chambers erupted again in celebration. Ambassador Martinez leaned toward Admiral Davis. "Did you ever think we'd see this day?" she asked, her voice filled with wonder. "Honestly?" "No," he replied with a slight smile. "But I did believe in our friends out there. Turns out we made more of an impression than we realized." Outside the council building, the news spread quickly. The crowds that had gathered to protest now celebrated. Humans who had remained in hiding emerged to embrace their alien friends. Ships that had operated covertly now openly displayed Earth Alliance markings. In the weeks that followed, a new galactic charter was drafted. Earth representatives played a key role in its creation. The revised charter emphasized cooperative development and prohibited isolation of any species without evidence of direct hostile action. On Earth, crowds gathered in major cities to watch the first official alien delegations arrive since the ban. The streets of New York, London, Tokyo, and hundreds of other cities filled with cheering people as ships descended through clear skies. Commander Sam Nichols, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the landing platform in Geneva as the first diplomatic vessels touched down. Lieutenant Kate Fowler, now a commander herself, stood beside him. "Hard to believe it was only 18 months ago that we thought we'd lost our place out there," she remarked. Sam nodded. "And now we're more integrated than ever." Around the world, humans who had worked in the resistance reunited with alien colleagues they had thought they might never see again. Captain Eric Russell, whose rescue of the Draxian hospital ship had helped turn the tide of public opinion, received special commendation from both Earth Alliance and the Galactic Council. Dr. Nicole Foster emerged from hiding to lead a new multi-species medical research initiative. Her work on the Morrow Plague vaccine had saved millions and earned her respect across the galaxy. Vice Admiral Diane Miller's unofficial security patrols became the model for a new joint protection force, combining ships and crews from dozens of species to safeguard trade routes. On planets across the galaxy, humans returned to their posts, welcomed by alien colleagues who had risked much to defend humanity's place among the stars. And in countless alien homes, a new saying began to circulate. If you want to solve an impossible problem, ask a human. If you want to solve it well, work with one. 2 years after the ban was lifted, Admiral Sam Nichols stood on the bridge of the ESS Unity, Earth's newest and largest vessel. Around him, a crew composed of humans and aliens from 12 different species worked together seamlessly. "All systems ready, Admiral," reported his Vertulian first officer. "The integrated fleet awaits your command." Through the view screen, Sam could see ships from 20 species formed in perfect formation, the first truly integrated defense force in galactic history. "The course is set," Sam said, addressing the entire fleet. "But this is more than just a training exercise. Today represents what we can achieve together. He paused, looking at the diverse faces of his crew, different shapes, colors, and biological compositions, all working toward a common goal. They tried to cut us out of the galaxy, he continued, but discovered we had become an essential thread in its fabric. That's not because we're better, it's because we're different. And in our differences, all our species find strength. The fleet moved forward as one, a symbol of a new era in galactic cooperation, an era that had begun when the Galactic Council tried to ban humans and aliens rebelled.